Good day, everyone. Thank you for jumping on today's webinar to go over the ProjectSight platform. Today, we're going to essentially go over the system and provide you with some high-level overview. Then we'll go ahead and get you started. My name is Sean Rogers. I'm the regional manager for the ProjectSight platform. I'm actually joined here today by Jimmy Getz. He is going to be the one driving the presentation today and to provide you with some additional insight into the ProjectSight platform. So a couple of administrative items before we get started. Throughout the webinar, we invite you to engage by asking questions on the panel by using the question box that can be found in the GoToWebinar control panel to your right there. We may have time to address some questions as we go throughout the different modules during our demonstration. This webinar will be recorded and accessible and on demand, in which will be emailed to you tomorrow. And there will be intermittent poll questions throughout the engagement today. We encourage you to participate. And at the end of the demonstration, we'll have time to address any other questions that we are unable to answer during the presentation, as well as any additional questions that may come up. And as far as what we're going to cover today, we're essentially going to be going over to the home page of the ProjectSight platform, and then we will dive into the drawing, document control, field management, and budget control modules within the Trimble ProjectSight platform. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Jimmy, and he will go ahead and start with the presentation of the platform.
All right, thanks, Sean. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's take a little bit of a look at ProjectSight. So I'm going to start just on the portfolio page. So ProjectSight is a web-based tool. You access it through the internet, right? I'm logged in currently as Jack Clifton. So in this demo environment, I am a project manager. What I'm looking at now is all of the different portfolios that Jack has access to. The portfolio is just a way to group projects together. There are certain settings that can be carried over from project to project that are in the same portfolio. So it's a good way to manage those projects and organize them together. Now we're looking at all of the different projects, and this is kind of a second layer screen here. You've got the ability here on the right-hand side to search and sort your projects. You can group them as well. And you can view the data within ProjectSight either in kind of a tile view or in a list view, which gives you a little bit more details into the metadata behind the scenes here. So I can actually add in additional columns to my grid here. And just to reiterate, this is, this is the same concept throughout the product, whether I'm looking at an RFI, punch item list, or in this case, a project list. At any point that I'm in here that I like the way the data looks and I want to make sure that I can save it and come back later, I can save this view as a specific save view, so that, and I can set it as my default so that whenever I come back to that area of ProjectSight, I will be delivered that data that I want to see. All right, so let's go into our project that we want to look at. It's the University Student Union and Wellness Center. So now that we're in the project, we land on the home page, right? So this is configurable for the user who's logged in. So in this case, Jack has the ability to add on different widgets here in the center. That's all these little boxes. It allows him to quickly navigate around to areas that he wants to see, as well as giving him a few high-level metrics of that data. So I can actually go in here and click on that RFI list and bring up that list specifically for whichever graph or widget that I'm clicking on. Now, the other way to see assigned work, for example, is going to look at the right-hand column, which is going to show all those assignments directly for Jack, but as well, Jack can go ahead and see all of those assigned for his company. So if this is an outside contractor that you're having access to, giving access to ProjectSight, they can see their full list of everything assigned to anybody that's a part of that company or that team. There's also an overdue section that allows you to see items that are coming up in the next 7 days or due today. And then above that, we have a couple different options here. We've looked at the widgets. This is just the tile sidebar there. There's also the ability to edit that project details. So that is this box up here, right? To get into a little more details there, as well as view a project team, which is just a contact list. This button here goes to our settings area, and ProjectSight is highly configurable. So we give access to any administrator that you would like to go in here and update the necessary record types, whether that's just adding a logo to a report, or if it's adding or removing users, setting up different security roles, or getting down into a specific record where maybe I want to update the verbiage on some items within the tool. So I can go ahead in here and change the notifications or the nomenclature we really wanted to give control to our user base to go ahead and configure the tool as needed without having to come back to ProjectSight for any help with that. And we do take the train the trainer approach during implementation to make sure that you guys are aware of everything that's going on inside the tool. The other section I wanted to talk about was this help button. So this opens up into a number of different areas. The first one is that online help. So whatever page you're on in ProjectSight, you can quickly click on that online help and it will open up into, in this case, the project page that we're on. If I was in RFIs, it would open up into the RFI help section. And I can navigate around with that, but it's got examples and quick snippets of videos, and it's a lot of how-to type information. The other area is a video library, right? So you can go to our ProjectSight Resource Center and look through a bunch of different videos, whether that's training or example videos. We have an extensive library. We also have a how-to guide. So for your new users, right, this is automatically turned on, but it's going to drive them through kind of a tour, give them the ability, to train on their own, right? Just to give them an idea of what they're looking at here, how they can manage that, and that's can be turned on for any record within ProjectSight. A couple other areas here. We have a what's new section, so this goes to our release notes and schedule. So that's all available here. Since we are a SaaS-based model, we're constantly coming out with new updates, releases, bug fixes, all that stuff. And we share that out in an email to our user base, but as well, you can just quickly access that inside the home screen here. And then we do have a support team available for help if you run into any problems. So they have a live chat as well as a phone number. And there is also a support portal included. Now, if you were looking to add additional features and functionality, or you want to have some input into the tool, you can go to the idea portal and add those ideas in there. That's directly managed by our support team. The other way to get kind of influence into the product roadmap is to be a part of any kind of customer advisory group. So we have a few of them within ProjectSight that have more direct contact with our development team to help give direct input for the product future. Now on the left side is everything that makes up ProjectSight. So I've got this list here. I've also got a little navigation piece here that I can go to as well. So a couple ways to navigate through the tool. So you always have this option at the top. But we'll start with the drawings and specifications. So that module is made up of these different record types. So the sets are a way to upload those drawings or specifications into the system. Once they are processed through different technology we have, they'll land in our drawings and specification area where you'll see them separated out with drawing title and revision number and dates, all automatically parsed out based upon our drawing set module. So we'll look at a drawing here in a bit. Next up is our budget and cost piece. It's made up of a number of different modules dealing with the budget and commitment side, as well as the change order management, as you can see here, and then invoices and expenses and apps to payment. Next up is document control, which is these types of records, right? Typically, we're gonna highlight RFIs today and submittals, but it also includes a nice meeting minute module, a couple other record types like issues, just to track maybe items that aren't as important as an RFI, but you want to keep track of them to make note, as well as action items to assign work to individual team members. Field management is made up of these different modules. So our main kind of usage in our client base is on the checklist and form section, and then our daily reports, right? But what else we have in here is the field observations, notices to comply, punch item, that's actually a big one too. And then to track any kind of safety incidents, we have a record type for that. Now the file library just leads to a list of file file list. I'll just show you that real quick here, to organize your files within the tool. So these are all created automatically based upon what type of record it is. So RFIs, if anything's attached to an RFI, they would land in this folder. Now this is another way to share out documentation. So you could have other project related documents you want to store and share out. You can create its own folder for those within the tool. And we also have our models link that goes out to Trimble Connect, which is included with ProjectSight, which does a number of things from also document management, right? It's a little bit more powerful today. It's got the sync with your desktop. It's got edited capabilities through Microsoft OneDrive, Microsoft 365, that's it. And then the ability to upload three-dimensional models and manipulate them, do some clash detection, organize the data. But what's important with the integration with ProjectSight is I can take this steel girder snapshot, right, which is just a tagged section of that model, and I can link it directly to a ProjectSight record so that all users can get that data when they need it, where they need it. So we'll talk a little bit more, and I'll show you kind of the direct link and how that works. And then the last area here is just an area to drop in external links, kind of like a bookmarks. That just go out to different web links if you have other project-related tools that that are separate from ProjectSight. Okay, are there any questions that came in, Sean?
Yep, I have one that came in. The question is, can I change the dashboard to represent the data that I'm most interested in?
Yep, all of these widgets are configured here. We have a list of available widgets, right, a number of them. But as well, when I'm working in the tool and I have a list of RFIs that I have preset, I can create a widget from that list and have it appear on the homepage. Anything else?
That's it for now.
Okay, one more thing I don't think I mentioned, but so I'm in as Jack Clifton. He is a project administrator. So he has, as you saw, he has full control over those administrative rights, which allows him to build out different security roles within the system. So ProjectSight was built for collaboration to have anybody that has to do with the project can have a login, and you can filter that down to different groups of individuals, different security roles that can only see certain things. Right, you have some subcontractors that need to reply to RFIs and only the RFIs that are assigned to them. Then you can go ahead and limit that by creating a security role down to what record type module that they can see, what record type, right? And then all the way down into what field can they edit within, you know, a contract, for example. All right, so you can turn off and on different access for individuals to limit their views and promote that collaboration throughout the project. All right, the next area I wanted to talk about was the drawings. So we'll go into our drawings record type here. And this is, once again, this is that second layer that you saw from that project screen. So similar look and feel, right? So the ability to have new users come in here and understand what they're looking at. We tried to make it very consistent. So here's that list view. But for the drawings, I do prefer that thumbnail view. Now, as you can see, I am filtered for architectural drawings, which is a preset filter over here that I configured. And one thing to note here is a couple buttons now that you'll see. One of them is this download button that gives you the ability to download the drawings, right? You can, you know, do a as-built set. You can remove any kind of hyperlinks and files related to it, download that. The other thing you can do is you can download the metadata, right, in a report format. Well, you can do that through Excel, right? You can view all this data in Excel that I see here, or I can download a report. And ProjectSight comes with 450 different types of reports that are preset. And then any additional reports is something you can get configured in implementation or throughout the project lifecycle. I will click on A201 here and we'll take a look at this drawing. And what I'm going to do here first off is I'm going to filter out all this noise for a second. So now we're looking at that drawing, right? So we have up on the right-hand side, we have the information tab, shows us what we're looking at here. We have a filtering layer tab, which I can turn off and on those annotations you see here. I can actually also filter them down specifically for what I want to look at. Maybe it's RFIs that are open, right? So I can really filter that out and be able to see past the noise depending on how many annotations you've got within your different drawings. I can excuse me. I can also see that this is authored by this individual, and then there's a direct link that you can send out right from here. Okay, and let's see here. So other things at the top you'll notice is this is the current version, right? It's the revision 3 of A201. So as the revisions get processed in the system throughout the startup of the project, we are going to make sure that only the current version is available to view, right? You can always go back and see previous versions, right? I can select an old version, but this gives me the ability not to have to worry that, one of my team members is not on the correct drawing. I've got a compare functionality where I can compare and overlay either different revisions on top of each other or compare a drawing to a different drawing. And then of course your download button. So how did I get all these items on here? Well, I got my toolbar on the left-hand side. So I can simply just draw, right, freehand. I can cloud, which you see here, shapes. I can also quick drop different record types. So this is an RFI, this is an issue, this is a punch item. So if I click my punch items and I go to the bathroom over here, and I've got an issue with the sink, I can just simply drag and drop a pin right there. Can also do that on my mobile device and then quickly create a new punch item. Very simple. What we've, the ability that we have in this sidebar is that I don't have to leave the drawing, right? I'm not leaving and going off into my punch record types and then losing my place where I'm at in the tool. So we give you the ability here to quickly add that punch item right inside the drawing so that you stay within that area that you are in. I'll go ahead and delete that one. And then you can add some text. You can also calibrate your drawing. Whoops, that's text. You can also calibrate your drawing down here with the key area, and then you can take some measurements as needed. I can also zoom in, right? I can zoom in and get the nice clarity that I need. And if I have any callouts that are linked, so I have drawings that are linked together, we're going to automatically link those throughout the system when they're uploaded. So I can quickly go ahead out and view this linked drawing. All right. And if I'm going in here to take a look at these and answer some RFIs, I can simply open up the drawing. I can either go to my little arrow here, which is going to open up a small box on the right-hand side where I can take a look at the question, see the comments that are happening, answer if I need to, or attach any files, documentation, and then that's our little send button that sends that comment to the team. The other thing here, and I'll show you this on the RFIs, is I can open this up larger to view it in a full screen mode. And then along the lines of Trimble Connect, talked about linking a model to the drawing. So if I go at the top here, Jack, I guess that's me, found an issue, he tagged it to the drawing here. He also tagged it to a model, right? So he pulled in a model link. And the way he did that was he went to his link icon, he went to add, and he clicked model view, which then shows him a list of those, a list of these saved views in Trimble Connect. He chose one and it then dropped it into that record. So now if somebody's coming back to take a look at it, they need to reference the model or take a look at that, they can click on that. It will send them off to Trimble Connect. It's more of an embedded type linkage going on here. And it's going to load up that specific model with narrowed in on that view that I tagged, right? So here's where I'm tagged. I'm kind of underneath the model here, but I can go ahead and scroll out I can navigate around, right? Trimble Connect is very powerful. I can click on different elements like this. Let's see what I clicked on here, the steel assembly, and I can look at the metadata there behind the scenes. I can group data together through our data organizer. I can assign items out on the model level as well. And then I've got clash detection as well as some status sharing capabilities inside the Trimble Connect system. So pretty powerful. The ability there to link over to Connect, it comes included with ProjectSight, so there's no special license needed to have all of your team members have access to view that model. Okay, Sean, were there any questions?
Yep, one question came through. What happens to the previous versions after I upload a new one?
Yeah, the old revisions. I don't think I chose it, but yeah, the select revision area here. So there's 2 other revisions in here that have been uploaded, and if I wanted to go back, I can just actually select that one of those, and it will open it up. Anything else?
Yep, and one more. Can anyone access the documents in Trimble Connect?
Yep. Trimble Connect is. You as an admin, whoever is controlling ProjectSight also controls Trimble Connect, and there's a whole team set up that that you would go through to set up that user group within Trimble Connect. All right.
Perfect. That is it for questions. And then we do have a chance for a poll. So I'm going to go ahead and post a poll up on your screen, and feel free to answer the poll. So do you currently use models in the field on your projects? Please select one. Yes, no, but I want to. I'll give you 20 seconds or so to fill that out. Perfect. Thank you very much for everyone that voted. And it looks like a majority of you currently do use models in the field for your projects.
Yeah, and a question came in on the chat there that I just went ahead and answered, but the question was around what type of format, 3D model file format. So I just sent a link in the chat there so you guys can open that up, but it leads to this page here with your list. And this is actually the Connect, this is kind of the support channel as well. So there's lots of information within this website to poke around with. But it's, I guess here's the file formats here. All right. Next up, we're gonna head over to document control. And here are the different record types within that, right? We talked about these a little bit. And so let's click into the RFIs at this point. And what I'm gonna do is preset, oh, it's already preset to my view. So now, I'm looking at a live view. I call it kind of like a live report. It's filtered out the way I want to see it. And it's up to date, real time, right? So as people are in here answering questions, moving statuses around, my view will constantly be changing. Now, if I wanted to print a report, if I'm heading to a meeting and I need a list of what I'm looking at on the screen, or I filtered out of maybe all open RFIs for my meeting, I can go ahead in here and I can say, let's go ahead and look at summary log with answers. And I can run this report at this project level, or if I have multiple projects I'm working on, I can run the same report and pull in all of those projects RFIs at one time, assuming they're in the same portfolio. And so we throw in your logo here. That's a portfolio settings, but this is kind of what it looks like, and it can be manipulated as needed for specific types of reports. But here's a quick example of one of the reports. Okay, so let me go ahead in here and I'll just double click on one of these, right? So if I single click, it's gonna open up on the side here. If I double click, it will now go full screen. And so now we're inside a single record, right? We still have our kind of input section over here on the right-hand side. So our high-level details, we have our statuses, and all of these can be configured for the process necessary, whether that's a submittal, RFI, right? You can set those statuses. I've also got different fields in here. They're going to change from record type to record type, right, as you'll see, but the nomenclature can be updated, the drop-down fields, all of that can be configured. I've got this one assigned to a few individuals, Jack, Howard, and James, right? So at this point, when this was created, they all got an email that said they have notification that they have an assigned RFI. It's going to show them the question, right? The title, the question. It's going to have a hyperlink that goes back right here. They can also reply to that email, which will then be captured in our comment section, right, as a single comment within there. So if you have outside contractors that don't want to log in, but you need an answer, they just simply reply to that email and you're still capturing that within that record type in one central source. If Jack, as you see here, he's done with this, but Howard, I need to change his due date to a couple days, right? So once he's done, I can mark him as done, right? So as the process moves through different individuals, I can reassign them as necessary as the workflow is, whatever workflow is needed there. And then there's also a courtesy copy option. So now we have this left-hand side, which is where we have our comments tab, right? You'll see that throughout the record types. That's the collaboration piece. So I can see that Gary posted a question. Then I can see the assignments that were delivered. Those are going to be tagged in the comment section. And then as well, anytime somebody uploads something within the area here, as you can see, Jack linked to a change order. I put a comment in, another change order, and then Jack put in a comment that was now marked as, it was promoted as the answer. And that's the key piece here. So once you get the answer, you promote that as the answer. And then once I close this record and save it, it's going to eliminate all of the background noise and it's just going to show me the question and the answer. And I can always go back and view that communication, but for record purposes, but it's very clean at this point. A couple other tabs here that live throughout different records. This one is impact tab, so this lives on the issue side and the RFI side to track cost and schedule and drawing impact. The additional information is a way to add custom fields to any records. So if you don't want to change the nomenclature of the dropdown and you need additional information, you have a place to do that. And Jack can do that through this project settings area, going to the RFI record and adding additional fields as needed. Then we have our history tab. It's going to show all of the actions taken, right? So this is kind of an audit view of this record type to see what's been going on. So every time somebody comes in here and changes something, which I just changed, let's see if maybe it's at the top, but tracks everything there so that you can always go back and see that audit history. A couple other things here, this link icon, right? You'll see that throughout the product. This is a link and shows you all the linked files or records directly to this RFI. Just gonna unlock that so we get rid of that. Now I can click on any of these and it will drive me directly to those different record types. So within ProjectSight, you can link records together. So if maybe this starts out as an issue out in the field, right? Issue is linked to an RFI. That RFI is then linked to a change order. Change order is linked to a change order request, right? That process is all linked together. So you can always go back and view kind of the genesis of the problem. And then of course, at every level, you've got your print, your report. So in this case, I'm running a report at the single RFI level, as opposed to what I did before at this level, which was more of a log view. All right, so that's RFIs. I'd show you action items and issues, but they're very similar, right? The only thing that's different is what fields on the right-hand side that you're collecting when you create one. Right? So in this case, it's a type versus importance versus what we had on RFIs, which was discipline. And so let's go head over to the submittal section. Two areas, right? Submittal packages and submittals, right? Submittal packages is just a way to group submittals together, right? In one time and upload them, assign them out as a group to a contractor. But in the end, they're all going to live here. I can always track what package they came from with my log view here, but I can go ahead and search in this case inside a record type. So I'll go to the ceramic tile, double click on it. I want to take a look at the details here. And so the submittal is a little bit different because it gives you an area to upload that document for review. So if I'm coming in here and I need to redline this document, I can go ahead and do that through ProjectSight. I can add some comments, some text, a stamp with a signature. When I'm done, I can close the record just like you saw before, or if I need to create a revision, I can do that. I can tie it to a spec section, all through my right-hand panel as well. And then we do include a tracking tab with some preset dates. You can use some lead times, or you can put in your own dates in there. And then of course, a lot of our clients have a specific way they do that, and they want to track a lot of different dates. So I've added some fields here for a previous demo that captures a number of different due dates. And then reporting is the same. It's just different reports for the submittal side, but same way to access that. Now, what I didn't show in the RFIs is this import export button. That will appear throughout the product. So if you want to import a list of submittals or a list of RFIs, you can do that. Right. The caveat is you need to export out first from Excel or from our system into Excel to get the proper formatting. And copy and paste your data in there, and then re-upload that file as needed. All right, I think that's all I was going to show you for document control. Are there any questions, Sean?
Yeah, Jimmy, so you had touched over quickly on the reports. How do you create those reports?
Yep, I mentioned there's 450 in here, kind of preset, but if you want to configure those, currently we do have a Crystal reporting background that is creating these reports. So if you do know Crystal, some people like it, some people don't. You can do it yourself just by downloading the report out of the system, or you can have us do it through either implementation or, so here's the reports and I can download that report file, make any changes I need, set it as default, disable it, whatever I need to do here. But we give you that ability if you have the resources. If not, we can certainly help you with that. We've got plenty of experts on our team. Anything else?
That is good for right now.
All right, a couple questions came in that I can answer real quick. So there was a question around the workflows and the flexibility to rename statuses and other items within the RFI. So yes, the flexibility here is you can change the statuses to whatever you would like, right? Specifically with RFIs, actually, let me go back. When I create an RFI and I choose a discipline, it will pre-assign an individual, in this case, Sarah, right? So there's that capability there as well. So I hope that answers some of that question. And then we do have an iPad app as well as a phone app to interact. It's app-based, so those are dedicated iPad and iPhone apps. So you can either use the app. The iPad app has everything except budget and cost, which is not included on the app. And then the iPhone is a little bit more limited at the moment. It has drawings, RFIs, punch items, and I think file management. And there is Android apps as well. All right, let's head over to field management. Punch items, very similar to RFIs, notices, comply, safety. These are all very similar record types. I don't want to go over those again, but one thing I will note is with your safety notices, we do have a section where we've detailed out a little bit more specific fields to capture more in line with, I think it's the ASHRAE form for that. But our main typical usage is going to be on that checklist and form section and that daily report. So let's look at a daily report, because in that daily, capturing weather, capturing labor, capturing equipment. So every day I can create a new report. It's depending on how you want this set up, this is automatically capturing the weather. I think I'm pulling it just at 7:45 a.m., but you can pull it multiple times a day. You can also add some notes, or you can manually edit that. On the labor side, I've got in here 4 different companies, or 3 different companies. This one is empty right now, so ignore that one. But here we've got one for Lakewood. We've got 3 employees and their hours they were there at the day. And if we want to take a deeper look at that, this is all set up inside during implementation. You load up your companies, you add your workers, and then you classify them as needed so that when you are on the job site, the superintendents and guys out in the field are simply choosing those individuals. If it's a team that has been working there yesterday, they can copy labor from a previous day and then just make any changes to that group if necessary. The equipment is a very similar approach. Right? So if I want to add an equipment in here, we've got our equipment list. So there's a drop down. In this case, did 1 truck. I was here for 8 hours. We don't have a rate in here, but we could certainly include a rate, as well as a company or crew and so forth to track that equipment. Now, if I want to add in, any kind of notes, whether it's progress photos, whether it's links to RFIs that were created that day, I would use my link icon. In this case, I could upload a file library, drawing, specification. I'll go to my record type, and now I can link to any other record in here. If I need to capture on my daily all of my RFIs I created that day, I can just go to my RFI list and choose them, right? The newest ones are going to be at the bottom. If I need to do a safety checklist daily, then I'll go ahead in here and I'll go to, where's my forms? Checklist and forms. And I can go ahead and create a new safety checklist. So what this is going to do, it's going to open up all of my templates for my forms, right? So these are pre-built, right? It's easy to create these either from an import or through the system. I'm not going to show that process because it's so simple, but here's a COVID checklist, right? So that's something that we've seen daily. I'm going to choose a little bit more complex one. So what it's going to do is going to immediately link that to the daily, and it's going to open up that that form to fill out, right? So I've got text fields, text box, drop downs, date boxes. I've got this pass fail I can include in here, as well as any individual item level I can assign out as needed. So for, whatever the case may be. And then if you're doing some kind of receiving type report and you need to copy a section, you have that capability as well to copy sections within the safety module or within the checklist module, as well as an approval process. All right, and then so when I click done, that's complete. It's now linked to my record. And I can attach it. And now when I run my report, it's going to dump all these attachments into my daily report that I'm running out of the system. Yeah, installed quantities, so just a question came in. Same concept, you would build out a checklist or form for that. In that case, you would want to copy sections, right? If you're just doing that kind of, and I'm going to use a material receiving report because it's got that copy included in there. So if I've got items I'm checking off or checking, I can insert a copy, and it's going to just copy this block section again, so I can keep going throughout my list there to make sure I'm capturing quantities. All right. Are there any other questions that came about here that I could answer?
Yeah, one just came in. Do external contacts need to have a license in order to access the project?
Oh, you want to answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. So our solution provides you with unlimited users and unlimited projects. So they do not need to purchase a license to have access into ProjectSight. They will just simply need to have a profile within ProjectSight to be able to log in to access the data. So there's not going to be any additional purchasing needed. We would just have to set them up with an account.
All right, let's navigate over to budget and cost. So this is the last section we're going to talk about, and this could be, a 2-hour conversation in itself. So it's hard for me to narrow this down into kind of a little bit of a snippet. But ProjectSight does allow you to manage your project budget within the project management tool, right? So these 3 big areas are what we handle for budget and commitment side. So the overall budget, contracts, cost forecast, purchase orders, the change management piece, which is really kind of the main, I would say the biggest usage out of our product, right? So you've got the PMs in there managing those changes. So we have a nice process for that. And then you've got the payments. And this may or may not be used, right, depending on the client, but we have that capability to do those invoices, expenses, and apps to payment. Now everything starts with that budget. So I'm gonna start here and quickly kind of talk through it. Now, how does this budget get in the system? It can be created step by step, line by line, right? I can add an item, right? I can configure my budget codes, right? This would typically be done before I go in here, right? I would make sure that I have my different dropdowns appropriate, that they match up with my ERP. I can have up to 9 different dropdowns here to organize my codes or my budget items. So that's one way. The other way is to import export, right? That's a popular way to do it. And then there was some talk about, I know some questions came in around integrations with an ERP. And the answer is yes, we do that. We do that in a number of different ways for a number of different types of ERPs. Viewpoint is one of them, Sage is one of them. In those cases, we would be connecting through the API. So when they start their project, initialize it, and depending on the configuration, right, it will just populate this budget. And that means that it will populate the code, the status, the description, and the original budget, right? The rest of the stuff is either coming in at a later time, right? If you're talking about capturing invoices and actuals to payment, stuff like that. The change management piece is typically the one that's going to be configured and managed through ProjectSight. So let's talk through that. So I've got my original budget in here. I've got some high-level metrics at the top. I'm going to go ahead and just narrow this down here so we can look at this specific line, right? This concrete subcontract. So our original budget was $795. The next column is all of those approved change orders, right? Once they're approved within our system, that's typically the trigger that then would send that data back to the ERP to update the ERP, right? And vice versa, there's triggers in the ERP that update ProjectSight. But in the case here, those two numbers, those two columns equal your current budget. Then you have 2 other different statuses or states of change orders. They may be in an approximate state or a pending state, depending on how you want to organize them. And that just means they're being worked on. We haven't quite got the approval yet, so we're tracking those, which gives us insight into that projected budget, right? What's still in there that we're working on? Added that to the current budget is going to give us that projected amount. And then the same thing on the commitment side, except we're talking about the contract values, right? So 801 is the contract value for that concrete subcontractor. And then we have a change process on the contract side, right? So same columns to give you that projected cost. And then the rest of it is your actual cost, over-unders, forecast, stuff like that you can add in here to configure this so that you can see what you want to see from a high level. Now to get into the details, I can just click on these budget items or budget codes, and it's going to give me that breakdown of, of what's happened. What are those details of the breakdown? So I can see the purple, right? That's the budget side. The yellow is the commitment side, and the green is the actual side. And on the left-hand side are all the different records that affected this budget code. So we have the original budget, there's a transfer that was happening, this contract, right, which hits the commitment side, and then all of these change orders, depending on if they're budget or contract changes, they're tracked, and you can see those columns that they're in. And then as well, all of these are hyperlinks. So I can click into that contract to view that contract level, which is going to give me all of those details around Irish Concrete, all the schedule of values, as well as all the change management that's happening. So we have approved change orders, and then we have potential ones that are in those pending and approximate states. All right. If I go back again here, I'll click actually into an approved change order so you can see that that change order process. All right, so here's our change. We've got it, it's in an approved state, but it's approved for budget, it's an owner change, right? A lot of details here we've included. And there's 2 items that make up this change, right? I can manage that through this grid here just by updating it, or I can go in here like you see this blue guy and this blue talk icon, show me that this item has been assigned, right? Ricky needs pricing. So she's assigning this to Andrew Forster, who is a subcontractor, who may or may not see different types of fields in here based on his security roles. He needs to just upload that contract so that Ricky can go ahead and include that in the cost portion as needed, right? So nice little breakdown there. And then just to kind of wrap it up, I'll kind of just talk through what goes on here. So everything starts from a potential change order, right? As it gets through the process, there's a change order request piece to group those change orders together to get approval. You can also group them together down to the subcontract level. So you're sending them, not just individual ones, but a whole group of them all together. And then if you need to update that prime contract, you've got the ability here to submit that record through that prime contract change. And then on the payment side, you can track those invoices, those expenses, apps to payment through our system as well. So I could talk for hours about this, but I think we've done a pretty good high level. So Sean, I'll just send it back to you for any kind of questions we can answer right now.
Absolutely. I want to take the chance to put out another poll in regards to the ERP accounting system. Just talk a little bit about, what solution does your PM solution integrate with? Sage, JD Edwards, Oracle, Viewpoint, other or none. Feel free to put in your selections when you get a chance. Give it about 20 seconds. Perfect. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. Thank you very much for that. Excellent. So we do have a few questions that came through. One came through is, where do we store the 3D models and do maintain versions?
Yeah, in Trimble Connect. So I'll just go to my file store here, and here's my model files. This is where they're stored. They're stored on Trimble Connect. So depending on what type of file it is or company you're working with, if it's a Tekla file, there's seamless integration. There's other tools, like there's a connection for Revit as well that can pull in those files. So they live on Trimble Connect, and it's pretty powerful and allows for that collaboration between those different file types and those different team members for the project.
Perfect. So we're coming up on time here, so we allotted for about 45 minutes on this. So I just want to provide with some closing statements. An email with the recording will be sent out to each one of you that attended today. So you should check your inbox tomorrow, and it should be available for you to view. I hope you enjoyed the webinar and learned a little bit more about another top tier option in the project management space. And once we close this out, we are going to go ahead and provide you with a quick survey. If you can, please fill that out, as it'll help us be more effective as we go ahead and continue to push these out. So again, thank you for joining our webinar today, and we hope you took value in what we showed you. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you.